Thank you for watching another edition of Inside the Pylon. Fidel Barraza alongside with Chris Arzola. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Hey, what's going on? Happy Thursday. How you doing?
Happy Thursday. I'm doing good. Training camp is underway. We're 1 week away from the official start of the preseason when the Jets playing the Hall of Fame game.
Yeah, it's only July, and man, do we have a lot to talk about already? I feel like the NFL's been giving us a lot of things this year. There hasn't been no downtime in the NFL, right? There's like this transition period normally when it's like off season, but man, a lot of stuff has happened. So yeah, let's get right into it.
A lot of stuff, and yeah, so the Jets against the Browns 1 week from today in the Hall of Fame game. So it's gonna be here before you know it.
Yep.
But yeah, so of course, with training camp opening up, we have some injuries. So particularly today, Joe Burrow suffered a calf strain. A lot of people didn't know at the beginning what it was, right? I believe he had to get carted off the field, but luckily it's just a calf strain, and he'll be out for a little bit. Not the same for Jalen Ramsey though. So it looks like he tore his meniscus and will be out till December. That's a big blow to that defense in Miami.
That's a big blow, man. That's pretty much the entire season, right? I mean, you bring in someone like Jalen Ramsey, who's expected to be, obviously probably their, 1A or, number one cornerback to Xavier Howard on the other side. And, he blows out a knee and now he's out pretty much the entire season. Now they're going to rely on their young cornerback, possibly Cam Smith, to come in and do some work. So tough blow for the Dolphins today.
Yeah, most definitely, Chris. But I mean, essentially, they're not going to have him this year. I mean, even coming off that injury, I mean, he says he's going to be back in December, but who knows? You never know, right?
I mean, the meniscus is a little bit different of an injury compared to an ACL. So I could see him possibly being back pretty quickly. I mean, think about how fast a lot of these guys are coming back now from ACL injuries. Usually it took a lot longer for them to come back, but I can see them possibly coming back. But yeah, will he be 100%? Sometimes though too, when injuries happen like that and it's a knee, right, it usually takes a little bit of time mentally for the athlete to come back and kind of be themselves. So I think mentally is what he's going to have to really overcome rather than the physical side of things for him. I mean, he's obviously a top athlete, right? I mean, one of the best in the NFL. So I think he'll be back. It's just, I think, can he get over that mental hurdle, honestly?
Here's the other thing too. So I mean, at that point of the season, I mean, you essentially kind of have a pretty good idea if you're going to make the playoffs or not. I mean, they're in a tough division, tough conference. So I mean, who knows? Maybe by then they won't even be in the race.
If they're not in the race at that point, then there's no reason to even bring him back. I mean, you have him obviously for 4 more years, I believe. After then he signed a 5-year contract. So, I mean, there's no reason to rush him back if you're out of the playoffs. If you're in the playoffs, I mean, if he's there and he's 100%, absolutely, you got to bring him back. So,
yeah, so we'll see, and hopefully he has a speedy recovery. All right, Chris, let's talk about Aaron Rodgers, and this is something that broke out yesterday. Apparently, he took a massive pay cut of $35 million to help the Jets build the team around him. To me, that sounds like a big FU to the Packers.
Oh, for sure. Are you kidding me? Like, he was trying to get all the amount of money that he possibly can get out of the Packers, right? Signing for, what's it, $50 million a year, basically. So he took a lot of money from the Green Bay Packers. And then, he came out the other day. He said how he's enjoying himself now in New York, how he could possibly see himself being there for multiple years. So he really felt like taking this pay cut can give him an opportunity to start rebuilding kind of around him. Now, obviously, there's rumors coming out that Dalvin Cook is going to go and visit the Jets this coming weekend. So that did free up room, obviously, to bring in more people, bring in more weapons, right? People are trying to figure out what's going to happen with Breece Hall. Is he going to be ready to go for the start? Now, with possibly bringing in someone like Dalvin Cook, now you honestly don't even have to rush Breece Hall back, right? You still have Michael Carter, too. So, man, I mean, huge FU from Aaron Rodgers to the Green Bay Packers. No question about that.
And then this kind of just goes back to what I've been saying. Essentially, all off season since he got traded, he's a new Aaron Rodgers there, right? I mean, so he's not the same person who was in Green Bay. He seems like he's happy. He's getting along with everybody.
Yep.
Man, have you seen the connection with him and Garrett Wilson during camp?
Him and Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner. Sauce, giving him that necklace, you know what I mean? That pimped out necklace that he gave out Aaron
Number
Rodgers.
8.
So
Yeah.
man, but that connection too with Garrett Wilson, man. Garrett Wilson last year with nobody as a quarterback, right, performed the way he performed.
Yeah.
Now you get a Hall of Famer like Aaron Rodgers. This kid, I mean, he's spectacular. He has a lot of talent. So man, let's see what he's gonna, let's see how he's gonna do this coming year with someone like Aaron Rodgers. So but yeah, man, Aaron taking a pay cut and bringing in possibly someone like Dalvin Cook, that's a huge fu to the Green Bay Packers. But he wasn't happy there, right? He spent his time there. He did bring a Super Bowl for them, but he was ready to go. And obviously, he's loving life right now in New York.
Yeah. So I'm gonna just go out and just say that Garrett Wilson's probably gonna be taken really high in NFL fantasy football drafts this season.
Oh, I mean, I'll be looking at him for sure.
Yeah, me too.
Yep.
All right. Speaking of quarterbacks, let's talk about one that just got an extension. Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert signed to a record 5-year contract extension, $262.5 million.
Oof,
It's a lot of money.
that's a lot of money. $52.5 million per year, making him the highest paid player in the NFL for 2023. Man, what a big contract. But I mean, there was no question about that. The Chargers, they had to pay up. They had to bring in. Obviously, Lamar, got his contract for $52 million per year. It's always the next man up, right? It's always the next man up. Before, obviously, Joe Burrow got hurt, they were saying about his extension, how he possibly obviously can, get up to, $55 million per year or something along those lines. But the Chargers absolutely needed to do this. They got their guy. I mean, Herbert's been year in and year out, progressing over time. There was question marks in the very beginning when he was coming out of Oregon. What kind of quarterback is he going to be? And then obviously that injury that brought him into the game basically when he was first with the Chargers, and from there he's basically been spectacular. So I mean, there's really no reason for him not to be paid the way he definitely got paid. But man, $262.5 million. Whoa.
And look, and that's a number that the market was essentially saying, like, that's where you're going to have to pay the quarterback, right? I mean, he's worth the money, man. He's a franchise quarterback in the league. He's top 5 in my book in
Yeah.
the NFL.
Oh, no question.
So, I mean, the Chargers, you had no option.
No question.
You're going to, and then it was said that basically the camp for Joe Burrow and the camp for Justin Herbert, they're essentially waiting for one to sign. So that way they can kind of get more. And Joe Burrow is going to get more. How much more? Not too sure. But after that's done, it's going to be Patrick Mahomes that's going to get a brand new deal.
Yeah, I mean, he's right now he's the 7th paid quarterback in the league right now.
8th, Chris.
The 8th. I mean, 8th quarterback. Okay, so he's making $45 million per year. So
and that's still a pretty good amount of money, but it's not the Justin Herbert kind of money, right?
Yeah, but I mean, here's the other thing too that I see. Speaking of Patrick Mahomes, real fast, right? We'll just touch bases on him. I mean, he's the type of person though too, where I'm not saying that Herbert's not looking to win championships, but you know what? Patrick's already said it. He's looking to take pay cuts, different things like that to make sure that he's bringing championships to Kansas City. And in order for that to happen, right, there's going to be times where he's obviously going to take these pay cuts, different things like that, kind of like Tom did his entire career, right, to have the people around him to win. And I think the thing with Joe Burrow, what's going to be hard is that obviously you have T. Higgins that's going to need to be re-signed, and Jamar Chase.
I think he's gone, Chris. I think T. Higgins is gone.
So that's what I'm saying. What's going to happen, right? I mean,
Can't pay everyone.
If Joe Burrow is going to command possibly $55 million per year, there's no way that you're going to be able to sign T. Higgins as well. Which, I mean, he's the number one on pretty much 28 other teams in the NFL. He's their number one, right? So, and it happens to be that Jamar Chase is there. I mean, so you can't pay everybody. It's going to be interesting to see, how Cincinnati kind of plays around with their money and stuff like that after this big, huge contract that Justin Herbert obviously got from the Chargers.
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously good for Justin Herbert. We like to see players getting paid, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, when it comes to money, man, get your bag. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to sit here and look into someone's pockets. That's not something that people do and stuff like that, man. When you work hard and what I mean, you're one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league. There's no reason for you not to get paid. Essentially, basically, how, like you said, how the structures are in the NFL right now. And look at, I mean, 55.2 million per year for Justin Herbert, Lamar 52, Jalen Hurts 51, Russell Wilson 49, and obviously the list continues on. In the pretty much all the way to Daniel Jones for the 10th. He's tied with Dak for the 10th most paid in the NFL at 40 million per year. So I mean, when we're talking about Daniel Jones being paid 40 million per year, it's just basically that's just what the market is right now.
Yeah, and also Cowboys signed cornerback Trayvon Diggs to a 5-year, $97 million extension as we're in Dallas. So congratulations to him getting that money.
Yep. I mean, great. I mean, he honestly, he actually rated last year for probably like middle of the pack as far as cornerbacks. But honestly, he's spectacular as far
He's good, man. He takes risk. I mean,
he's spectacular as far as a quarterback. Now, the only issue is here, though, right, is that Jerry tends to pay for, overpay and stuff like that for his players. Now, that's going to be interesting because, again, there's a lot of players that are going to need to be paid here very shortly. Obviously, we're talking about, Zach Martin. He's, obviously not showing up to training camp. He's a little bit pissed off about his contract. He's essentially the best guard in the league, and he's getting paid, pennies and a dime for I guess, a guard of his, caliber. The other thing too is, right, we have Micah Parsons coming down the line too, probably, one of the best edge rushers in the league, probably top 5, obviously young kid. He's going to request money here very shortly too. So again, talk about not being able to pay everybody. Right. And this is the offense. I mean, this is the defensive side. We're not even talking about the offensive side. Yeah. Right. So, I mean, obviously, I don't know, man. Like I said, I mean, it's great. I mean, like I said, great cornerback, fantastic, player, great, great contract for what he got. But man, like down the line, what's going to happen with, the Dallas Cowboys as far as paying, Micah Parsons, Zach Martin, and these guys and stuff like that are also huge stars for the Cowboys.
Yeah. Let's go and talk about Saquon Barkley. He was one of the running backs that was most outspoken this offseason as far as the running back position and what they were getting paid.
Yeah.
So he actually reported the camp and signed an adjusted 1-year franchise tag worth up to $11 million.
Yeah. And essentially, it came out to be $900,000. So, $900,000 more essentially. There's reports out there basically they just paid him another $900,000 to show up to training camp, in other words, right? Because he was going to be losing money if he held out. So I don't know, man. Like, I've been talking about this in podcasts, in our other episodes and stuff, like what is the market looking like for running backs right now? Obviously, Dalvin Cook is still out there, Kareem Hunt, running backs that have obviously put in a lot of time and a lot of yards in the NFL, but they're not getting paid essentially what they feel like, what the market are. Well, there is really no market, I guess, for the running back now. So that's what's kind of discouraging for them. But you know what? I mean, I think the other slap in the face was is 10 minutes before the training camp, Andrew Jones gets, a massive contract too, their tackle for the Giants. So I feel like it possibly made, Saquon feel like a certain way too. It's like, damn, like, where's my role at here? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I get obviously the tackles and stuff like that. They, it starts with them, down in the front. But I mean, again, I said this and I was very critical about the signing of Daniel Jones at $40 million per year. This guy, Saquon Barkley, is the offense. If he's not there and he's not running the ball, then there is no Daniel Jones, period. Like, you know what I mean? We saw what Daniel Jones is without Saquon, and he's literally not even a middle of the pack. He's a lower end quarterback. So $900,000 to show up for Saquon Barkley, I don't know, man. I mean, get your bag, yeah, but that wasn't really getting his bag. So I don't know. I mean, tough.
And I believe that the Giants are able to tag him next year as well.
If I'm
not mistaken. So I mean, I thought he was gonna, stand his ground like Josh Jacobs.
He should have. he should have stand his ground, and I think he shouldn't have showed up, and he should have took some hits. And I'm not saying to completely, ruin the entire season and do a,
Le'Veon Bell.
Le'Veon Bell, right? But I mean, absolutely stand your ground, right? And hold out and get something else more than just that, because man, $900,000 just to show up to training camp, like I feel like as far as like everything he did, it just wasn't. It really didn't add up to much, man. Like, you know what I mean? If he would have stood his ground and he would have not showed up to training camp, who knows what could have happened, So, I mean, maybe they would have budged. Maybe the owner for the Giants would have woke up one day and said, damn, like, I really need Saquon here. Like, you know what I mean? He's huge part of this offense. And if we don't bring him in, then we're not going to be, what we feel like we could possibly be. So.
Yeah. So he's back with the Giants for another year. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yep. Nick Bosa of the Niners is holding out too. He's holding out for a new contract. So he hasn't reported the camp. He's going to get a contract, I would assume, pretty quick.
I mean, there's no reason for, like we just talked about. I mean, before we started the podcast, this guy is number 1 or 2 in the entire league.
I think he's the best, Chris. I think he's the best defense player out.
I mean, I think he is too. It's either him or TJ Watt, like I said. So, I mean, he's going to get paid, Why the 49ers are taking a long time, who knows? But you know what, Nick Bosa don't play that shit. He'll definitely hold out if he needs to make sure that he gets what he's worth, and everybody knows what he's worth. He'll get his contract.
Yeah. This one's a little bit of a surprise. So Jimmy Graham re-signed with the New Orleans Saints. And so I'm talking about Jimmy Graham wasn't even in the league last season.
Yeah.
He was first with the New Orleans Saints, and then he went away. He played in Seattle, Chicago, and now he's back in New Orleans.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a little quick, 1-year thing. Just get him back in the building. Obviously, I don't think he's going to start there. He could be a good little, he could be a good little player for them here and there and stuff like that. He's going to add some depth towards the tight end position for them. But it's a nice reunion for him, maybe to end his career, because again, he wasn't even in the league last year. So, just a quick 1-year thing, bring him back in, have one more hurrah and, right off in the sun way, basically. So yeah, that's a nice little thing to kind of come back to the team that you started off with, because he was a hell of a player with the New Orleans Saints in the beginning of his career for sure.
Yeah, he was. Did you see what's going on with the Sean Payton and him talking shit about the New York Jets?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I saw him giving it to Hackett, basically saying that. Actually, I think I had a quote right here. Let me see if
he said it was the worst coaching job in NFL history, and I might be wrong, but I think that's what I read.
Yeah, that's what he said. He said, "What did you see?" He said about Hackett. He said, "Oh man, there's so much dirt around that. There's 20 dirty hands for what was allowed, tolerated in the freaking training rooms, the meeting rooms, the offense. I don't know Hackett. A lot of people had dirt on their hands. It wasn't just Russell. He didn't just flip. He still has it. The BS that hit all the wall. Shoot, they couldn't even get a play in.
Yeah,
they couldn't even get a play in, right? So that's what he said. They were 29th in the league in pre-snap penalties on both sides of the ball. That should tell you something right there as far as how bad the coach really was last year.
Yeah. So what's interesting is that they actually play. They play each other. I think it was either week 4 or week 5 this season.
Week 5. Yeah, week 5. Yep.
In Denver. So
yep,
it's gonna be interesting, man. I just thought it was interesting. Like, man, he's talking a lot of shit.
Yeah, well, Saleh did come back a little bit and say, I guess we must be doing something right over here if our counterparts are already talking about us and we don't even play them until week 5. So,
and here's what a lot of people have to understand, Chris. When Nathaniel Hackett took that job in Denver, he thought that he was going to end up with Aaron Rodgers, not Russell Wilson.
Correct.
So,
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, no, you're right. I mean, that's exactly what everybody was saying before he took that job. The reason why he was taken is because of the relationship that he has with Aaron Rodgers. Obviously now that's why you see him with the Jets, because Aaron Rodgers is there. So, and Aaron Rodgers even came out when he first signed with the Jets and said, one of the biggest reasons he signed with the Jets was because Hackett was there, and the relationship that he has with him. So, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, he just, wasn't cut out for to be an NFL head coach. And there's not a lot of people out there that are, right? But, for Sean Payton to give him some jabs and shit like that, I mean, it really shows, I guess, what he feels, what was really going on in the building, because he's there every day. So, and Sean Payton, you know what? I think he deserves a little bit of that. I mean, he's definitely one of the best coaches in the league and has been for quite some time. So,
Well, we'll see if he's able to do a better job than what Nathaniel Hackett could with Russell Wilson.
yeah, we'll see what happens.
All right. Well, with that being said, thank you everyone out there for watching this episode Inside the Pylon. We'll talk to you guys next week. Make sure you guys follow us on all social media platforms. You guys have a great rest of the week and have a good night.